Thank you so much. Thank you to our audience members. Welcome to the candidate forum put on by the League of Women Voters of Arlington Heights. My name is Lucy Nisi, and I am from the League of Women Voters of Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, and the Buffalo Grove area. I am also a member of our Emerging Leaders program. Founded in 1920 out of the suffragette movement, giving women the right to vote, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. We are happy to provide the service for the community. To send in your questions for the candidates, please text the number 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. This information will be available in the chat. All of the candidates were contacted by email or phone prior to today. The candidates have agreed to abide by the ground rules provided by the League of Women Voters. They are as follows. Candidates have flipped a virtual coin to determine speaking order. The moderator will rotate this order during the forum for questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their introduction. Next, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the questions. At the end, each candidate will have a 2-minute closing statement. League members will act as timers. Candidates will be given a 30-second and 15-second warning, so we ask the candidates to quickly complete their thoughts before they see the stop card. Time limits will be enforced out of respect for all candidates. Questions will be provided by the audience. Each question will be answered by all candidates, so please, audience, only ask questions related to the office being sought. Again, we can only use questions which can be answered by all the candidates. Please send those questions to the number 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. Questions will be reviewed by League volunteers for clarity, appropriateness, and to avoid duplication. Candidates have been asked not to interrupt one another. The moderator will repeat a question if asked. The candidates are to speak to the audience. I'd like to introduce our moderator for today's event, Greta.
Thank you. We will now start our candidate forum. We ask that you bear with us and note that technology is what it is, and we are all working to ensure that this event runs as smoothly as possible. With me on screen, we have our candidates and our timer, Nancy Jones. I would like to note that the Q&A chat has been disabled for all attendees, so if you would like to submit a question for the candidates, please text this number, 224-306-9521, or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. So because we have more than 2 candidates, we were not able to flip a coin. So I will be drawing slips of paper. And as I pull your names, please correct me if I'm wrong on pronunciation so I can correct myself. So here we go. All right, first we have candidate Papantos.
Thank you. You got it right.
Okay, perfect. So you will be doing the opening statement first. Second, we have candidate Krueger. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep track so I'm able to alternate. Third, we will have candidate Rafato.
Correct. Though my name was misspelled on your opening screen. It's 2 T's, not 1 T.
Got it. And then we next will have candidate Waller. And then that means we will finish, well, with candidate Rodriguez. So let me just quickly write this down so I don't forget. Sorry about this. Okay. We will now start our 2-minute opening statements. So candidate Papantos, you will have 2 minutes to start, and please begin.
Thank you. My name is Mary Papantos. I am a candidate for village trustee. I was appointed to the position in 2016, ran in 2017, and was elected. Prior to that, I had run 3 times before that, and each time was a little bit more successful. I am a lifelong resident of Wheeling. I grew up in the Meadowbrook West subdivision, went to St. Joe's and continued and graduated from Wheeling High School after marriage. Moved back here. My kids are, Walt Whitman, Holmes, and Wheeling High School also. I got involved in politics at a very early age, not as young as Greta and Lucy, and it's great to see you guys out here and participating. But my mentor was Sheila Schultz. She was actually the first female president of the Village of Wheeling, along with her daughter, Kathy Rigg, who was my sister's best friend growing up. We have really tried to make the village an even better place than what it really is. Look around what's going on in Wheeling right now. We are growing. We are the envy of other suburbs. We have our town center. We have Uptown 500. A lot that was built early 50s where Amazing Savings, IF Furniture Gallery, Sears Outlet is being developed into retail and townhomes. We have continued to make this village a better place and have done so with the highest integrity that we can possibly do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Krueger, you may begin.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Mary Krueger, and I'm an incumbent candidate for village trustee in Wheeling. I am seeking a 3rd term in office. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this Zoom event for us. In the age of a pandemic, this was probably the best way to introduce the candidates to the public, and for that I am grateful. Speaking of the pandemic, that is the main reason I am seeking re-election. I have served our community for 2 terms already, and I simply couldn't walk away from my post in the middle of a global crisis. I want to continue to use my experience that I've gained to serve the village and work closely with my colleagues on the board, as well as our professional and competent staff to help us get to the other side of this unanticipated speed bump affecting our community. Since it hit, Wheeling has done many effective and downright creative things to support our community, while at the same time maintaining safety protocols that prevented us from diminishing the core services, public safety, and infrastructure that we are responsible to deliver every single day. I believe we are seeing a light at the end of this tunnel, but there is clearly more work to be done and to restore Wheeling to pre-pandemic vibrancy. A little about me and how I got here. I have lived in Wheeling for 58 years, minus a few years in the 80s when I tried to be a married person. My neighborhood was involuntarily annexed into the village and officially in 2003, and I ran in 2013 in the 2013 election with a focus of localized flooding on my mind. As recent as yesterday, a press release was sent out regarding a 5-year project to update the FEMA flood mapping, which has now removed roughly 750 residents out of the floodplain, which is a great thing to see. I am here in Wheeling to stay, and I hope to continue this journey. I look forward to answering today's questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Next we will have candidate Rafato.
Thank you. And I too would like to echo the thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum today. It's important for residents of our village to be able to hear what our candidates are talking about, and as we are stewards for our residents, and that's important. As already known, my name is Jim Rafato. I've been a resident in Wheeling for 43 years, but actually our family goes back longer. My wife was raised in Wheeling, and when we got married, we decided to make Wheeling our home to raise our 4 children. I have been active in the village for 20 years, not consecutively, but in the 80s, I was a member of a long gone commission called the Appearance Commission for a number of years. After a while, that actually was folded into the Plan Commission. And from there, back in 2004, I was appointed to the Plan Commission, and I was on the Plan Commission for 15 years, seeing all of the major developments from the Westin through Wheeling Town Center to the Uptown 500 and the development going on in the west end of the village of Wheeling. Those give me the experience that I have to keep Wheeling moving, keep Wheeling rolling. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Rafato. Next, we will have candidate Waller, so please begin.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for having this event. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Lee Waller, as you mentioned. I'm a candidate for trustee. I'm a 30-year resident of Wheeling. I'm not a politician, I'm a businessman. And that is a distinction that I like to make. I'm not running to be a politician. I've got 55 years in business experience. I've got additional 5 or 6 years practicing law apart from business. So I feel like I've run businesses small and large. I'm still a consultant to businesses today, and I feel I have a lot to bring to the village. We've seen a lot of decline in a lot of areas. Yes, there is a lot of building going on, but the budget deficit gets worse every year. We've seen our Chamber of Commerce go away. A lot of things need to be adjusted, and that's basically why I'm running, is to get involved in righting the ship, if you will. Again, I thank you for inviting us to participate, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate Rodriguez, you may begin. Candidate Rodriguez, you're muted.
There, you hear me? Yeah, sorry, not a technology person, sorry. But my name is Laura Rodriguez. I'm a resident of Wheeling for over about 13 years and a business owner in Wheeling for over 20 years. I went to Wheeling High School my freshman year. My son graduated from Wheeling High School, and my daughter is registered to go to Wheeling High School. So as a resident, I think I can make a difference here in Wheeling, because being a resident, I understand what a resident needs, and being in business, having my customers, listening to what they need, because most of my customers are from Wheeling. And even before I was invited to participate as a candidate, and I want to thank you who have, for the people that believe in me, I had to ask a lot of people what they thought. They're like, everybody said, it's about time a Latino runs for office here in Wheeling. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's give it a try. So I am excited. I am nervous because I'm not a politician. I just want to be myself as a resident and listen to the people of what they need. So I'm excited, and thank you for all that you do. And thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. We will now move on to our audience questions. And just a reminder to the audience, you can send your questions to 224-306-9521 or email them to forum.lwvah@gmail.com. So our first question will be, what are your thoughts on Wheeling's affordable housing regulation? And we will start with candidate Krueger. Candidate Krueger has 1 minute to answer the first question. You may begin.
Thank you. As far as Wheeling's affordable housing regulation, I can say that we have just recently approved a new development for workforce housing that will be located on the west side of the Metro train tracks. I do believe that those the rents there will be regulated so that people can afford to live there. I believe it is the first one of its kind, but I think there's also some state regulations that require that all apartment or living situations provide affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate Rafato, you have 1 minute to answer the question.
Thank you. As candidate Krueger mentioned, we have a affordable housing apartment complex going up in our village. It's in concept and it will be going to our plan commission very shortly. And I feel that throughout our village, we have affordable housing in our complexes. And in a broader perspective, our houses are affordable for those folks, those families that want to move into our village. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Waller, you have 1 minute to answer the question.
Well, I'm aware of the new proposed site on Wheeling Road by the tracks. That would be very well received, I'm sure, in Wheeling. I, like the other two previous people, feel we've got a tremendous amount of housing in Wheeling, and a good bit of it's, I believe, is affordable housing. So I don't know that we need a special carve out or special movement to affordable housing when I really believe we've got quite a bit of it already here. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rodriguez.
Hi, as a real estate agent for over 23 years and living in Wheeling, this is the first time I hear about the affordable program that is going to exist here. And I really hope to bring other programs that I'm aware of here to the village. But as far as I know, that's the only one. And I'm excited to be able to, bring that in if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Papantos.
Thank you. Not only is a brand new housing project coming up, apartments, and it will be called right now the Union on Wheeling Road, which is part of the mixed the MXT district. So it fits in as far as zoning, and it offers wonderful transportation to people at an affordable rate for an apartment. I believe they indicated that a 3-bedroom unit will be priced, it was less than $1,800 a month, which is great. We also have the Philhaven apartments, which are affordable and based on income. There are a lot of different homes within the community at different price levels. There is no set regulation as long as housing fits into the zoning regulations. That's the only type of zoning, but you don't regulate based on affordability or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second question will be, it seems west of the railroad tracks on Dundee Road to Buffalo Grove Road has been underdeveloped for many years. What are some of your ideas that would improve this area, including the vacant Kmart property? And we will be starting with candidate Rafato. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, this is one of my key initiatives when I get reelected. We have a station area plan, which was developed when I was on the Plan Commission, and it was just recently updated in 2019. So we have the plan, we need to execute it. And the first plan, the first two items that are going in the station area, which is west of the Metro tracks, is London Crossing, which is west of 83. And that's going to be a mixed use of townhomes and retail. That is going to the Plan Commission very shortly. And the aforementioned affordable housing. The Kmart property is being marketed aggressively in our village and with the developer, but nothing has come up yet. But I would assume in 2021, we are going to see a lot more activity on that property.
Thank you. Candidate Waller, you're up.
With respect to the Kmart property, that property has been approached, the owner of the property has been approached a number of times over the years with potential sale of the property and future development. I believe the property owner is a little resistant to let that property go. So that may make it more difficult, but yeah, I'm very favorable to developing that area. The one that Wingspan is developing west of Elmhurst Road, I guess I don't know exactly what the status is today. I see the vehicles out there, the construction vehicles, but there hasn't been much done in several months. Hasn't been anything done in several months that's visible. So I'm not exactly sure where that stands. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Waller. Candidate Rodriguez, you have 1 minute.
So, well, my business is sitting where the Kmart lot is. And I'm curious to see, what they're gonna build. Hopefully, they will not kick us out, but, my dream would be, instead of building apartments or anything else behind us, I'm a community person, so I would love to see like a soccer field or something like that for the community. So, and that's what I would dream to do. And about the road, I'm not really too familiar about anything that has been done. I drive that all the time and there's a lot of traffic. So hopefully, something will be done soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Papantos, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. The area west of the tracks on Dundee has been something that everybody has looked at for a number of years. The Kmart property, yes, the owner has been approached and there have been a lot of different things, but the price that is being asked sends some developers away, and the village only has so much control over that. The London Crossing development will be great. The station area plan will be great. As far as recreational type situations, it's certainly something to look at with the park district, but whether or not the park district wants to take over that type of development would be very, very difficult. We are looking for retail. We want to build our town up. We're looking for commercial and retail in order to keep property taxes low for residents as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll wrap this question up with Candidate Krueger.
Thank you. Like everyone has said, the stationary plan is paramount to our ability to redevelop west of the tracks. London Crossing is a planned unit development of both residential and retail. I'm really excited because I live on the west side of town, so I'm very excited to see something go there. As far as the Kmart property, Candidate Papantos kind of stole my thunder and said, but I agree that the village of Wheeling can only do so much if the property owner perhaps might be asking a little too much for the property. It would be irresponsible for the village to throw TIF money or anything else at that site to help bridge that gap for why developers are not biting on that property. But I would like to see a sales tax producing business to go there. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Krueger. Just a reminder to our audience, you can send questions to 224-306-9521 or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. We're now going to move on to our next question, and Candidate Waller is going to start. So, why is the village mostly looking at developers who are looking to build apartments? The taxpayers of residential and commercial property are footing the largest portion in paying for the village services because of this. Would you agree as a candidate that we need less apartments and more condos, townhouses, and single-family houses to help support the property tax base?
I think I would agree with that. We've got plenty of apartments right there where the Wheeling Town Center is, and across the street at Uptown 500, you got 600 units with 300 behind it. Basically, the reason that apartments have been so prevalent is that's where the financing money is. That's where you can get money from a bank. They're giving money away, or they're giving money out, or making loans to do apartments, and it's a lot more difficult to do condos and townhomes. But yes, I would agree that more condos and townhomes might bring a little bit higher profile resident, and by that I mean somebody that will spend more money here and help the tax base in that way. Single family homes also would be a possibility, but obviously I don't think the Kmart area would be a possibility for single family homes, but I don't know, I wouldn't cross that off the list. But yes, to your answer, I think we got plenty of apartments. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Waller. Candidate Rodriguez, you have 1 minute.
Well, I agree. I think we have a lot of apartments. And again, as a realtor, I'm always promoting residents to become homeowner, the American dream. And I think that would be more beneficial to our community than just apartments, because we have enough apartments. We have, like Lee said, on the new ones, on Wolf, yeah, we have a lot. So I personally think we should not build more apartments. I would like to see more residential. It would bring more benefit to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Papantos, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. As far as the tax base with apartments, I want to make sure we all understand that an apartment building, the apartment renter may not pay property tax, but the building does have a property tax bill that's built into the rental space. So no individual is paying more tax because there's apartments versus a single family home or a condo. It's the whole building in itself that pays the property tax. Would I love to see more single family homes in Wheeling? Of course I would. The question is where? There's not that much large open space that anybody wants to put in the infrastructure and build single family homes. We have quite a few condos, and we do have quite a few townhouse developments, the newest being Wolf Crossing on Wolf Road. And we just recently approved a concept for the Prairie Park area where candidate Waller lives for a small townhouse development. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Krueger, you now have 1 minute.
Thank you. I agree. And having approved the apartments that are, in and around the town center, when these very reputable developers come to the village with their concept, they do pretty robust market studies to tell us that that apartments were what was necessary there. And they certainly were built as a transit-oriented community, being by the train tracks. But like candidate Papanto said, I asked the same question, where? There's very few large open lots available for single-family homes. I think the last single-family home residential neighborhood is right next to my house in Horizon Trail. And honestly, it took them a long time to sell all the units. So those developers want to make sure that when they come to this town that they get a bang for their buck and their time, and that the village also receives the real estate tax revenue from those projects.
Thank you. Candidate Rafato, you now have 1 minute.
Thank you. The apartments, as candidate Krueger mentioned, around the Metro Rail is MXT, and that's transit, and the specific housing there were apartments, and that was what we were requesting in that area. Yes, I agree that townhomes are probably our best bet, as evidenced in Prairie Park. Prairie Park, the concept came to us for townhomes. And when that concept came to us, what was brought up is that condos are not selling, and they were looking for more townhome developments and single family. But as we've mentioned, single family is the property. We don't have properties for single families. But what we can do is create possibly some type of grant program to enhance our single family homes within the village. And that would be an additional plus to enhance more residents to come and live in the village of Wheeling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to our next question. And just one more reminder to the audience, you can send questions to the number 224-306-9521 or email them to forum.lwvah@gmail.com. So our next question, we will start with candidate Rodriguez, and it is as follows. As a trustee who may also be a business owner in the village, would you consider TIF funds as receiving assistance from the village? And would you decline receiving those funds because it would be a conflict of interest? You have 1 minute, candidate Rodriguez.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, absolutely. As a trustee who may also be a business owner in the village, would you consider TIF funds as receiving assistance from the village, and would you decline receiving those funds because it would be a conflict of interest?
Well, I think it would be a conflict of interest. Yet again, if my business is dying, I would probably apply, but I would rather not, because my integrity is to serve the community rather than, take money away. There's a lot of other programs that businesses can take, like the government programs, like right now with the pandemic, SBA loans, PPP and all this stuff. I think I would start with those programs rather than the city money. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Papantos, you now have 1 minute.
Thank you. Tax increment financing, or TIF funds, were set up in 5 districts originally within the village of Wheeling to bring builders in. In order to receive TIF funds, one must pass the but-for test. But for this additional funding, I would not develop here. It would not be profitable. Would I, if I were a developer coming in and seated on the board, accept TIF funds? I would certainly recuse myself from any discussion at all. This is a major funding. I believe Prairie Park in total, the developer received just over $14 million in TIF funds through many of its properties, but with Prairie Park and the 17 acres and a bridge that we built there. So I would definitely recuse myself and would not partake in that discussion.
Thank you. Candidate Krueger?
Thank you. Tax increment financing is a very highly regulated tool in the economic development toolbox of any community that has a TIF district. There are strict rules for this pay-as-you-go program as it is used to improve blighted areas of a given community. I am not a business owner in town. I'm employed elsewhere, and but if I were to be a trustee serving and I had a business that was being developed in town that was in a TIF district, I would absolutely not partake in any of that. I would have to recuse myself or divest myself from my business so that there was no money changing hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rafato?
Thank you. Bottom line is, yes, it would be a conflict. If I and I don't own a business, if I had a business in the village and was looking for TIF funds, I would either have to resign from office or somehow divest myself of this business, which I am getting paid from. So definitely it would be a conflict. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Waller?
Yes, I certainly can see the conflict of interest potential problem for a business owner that's on the board to take money, TIF money, to do further development. But let's understand what TIF money is really all about. The village, through the TIF funding program, assists businesses or assists developers to develop properties that might not otherwise be developed because it wouldn't be cost advantageous to do that for the developer. Once that's done and the business is and the construction is complete and the business or residential area, whatever the case might be, is up and running, the taxpayers' tax money goes back into the village to pay the TIF back. Now, I live in Prairie Park, and Prairie Park was mentioned. Yeah, several million, it was 6 or 8 million or 10 million were put into Prairie Park to develop Prairie Park. That's true, but we paid $2.3 million in taxes. That money's been paid back years ago, and we're paying $2.3 million to the village every year. So maybe that's a pretty good deal.
Okay, thank you, candidate.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to the next question and start off with candidate Papantos. With growing ethnic diversity in Wheeling, how can all various groups be fairly represented? You have 1 minute.
Thank you. That's a great question, and we have to look at it in participation. Candidate Rodriguez, it's great to see somebody stepping up to say, I want to be part of the village. I want to learn. I want to represent the entire village as a whole, but offer a perspective that may or may not be seen by our village as it is right now. Northwest community, the Northwest community suburbs have really opened up to having more female representation. It's no longer the old boys club, which is great. And we also are looking at different cultures. In Wheeling alone, the Eastern European population is huge. I would love to see more people, and they have joined some of our commissions to represent that. I'd love to see more Hispanic population join the commissions as well as the board. But I also want to make sure people understand what it means to be a trustee or a commissioner in Wheeling. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Krueger, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I do believe that Wheeling is a very diverse community in its own right. Per Data USA, Wheeling, Illinois' website, our largest ethnic groups are white non-Hispanic, 45.9%, Hispanic, 29%, Asian, 18.2%, and African-American, 3.12%. And now I suspect that the white non-Hispanic number noted, it has a good portion of Eastern European cultures like Ukrainian, Polish, Russian, that identify as white. The reason I bring that up is because I think that diversity enriches all of our lives, and it's worth everyone's while to engage that topic. Now, the only age-old adage is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. We have many ways to communicate with our community by way of our website and our Facebook page and our Twitter feed, but we can't make everybody go there. So I would like, if reelected, to sort of bring the village to them and find other social or existing community leaders to talk to.
Thank you, Candidate Krueger. Candidate Rafato, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. As been previously mentioned, we are rich diversity and culturally in this village by the restaurants that we have that are abundant, and I would like to continue that. But how do we get involved in that? As Candidate Krueger mentioned and Candidate Papantos, get involved in our commissions, and we have many commissions within our village that we can all join in on. And culturally, we have spreading out not only in the village, but our park district has many cultural events that we attended that are wonderful for this village. And I want to continue those on and work with the park district or whomever to keep those going. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Waller.
Well, that's an interesting question. I think one of the quick ways to get a little bit more diversity is to elect Laura Rodriguez on the slate that she's running with. A few years ago, Laura Rodriguez tried to join the Chamber of Commerce and was shunned. She wanted to bring the Hispanic community into the Chamber of Commerce in a strong way under her leadership. She was shunned, and the Chamber of Commerce has pretty much died out. If our slate is elected, the Chamber of Commerce will be reinstituted, and we will be reaching out to all communities, and that will include the Hispanic community. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Candidate Rodriguez.
Okay, well, that's exactly why I am just excited to be part of it and hopefully be elected, because as a Latina, no Latinos have been represented here in the village. I've been sponsoring a lot of events in the Wheeling Park District. Yes, I tried. I had a group trying to build the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. When I presented it, they said that we don't think we need a Hispanic committee. So I'm like, okay. And I like to go to the businesses. Like, I want to invite other members of any, I don't know how to say it, any, like, I'm Hispanic, I want to bring an Indian, I want to bring the Asian people to participate by asking. I already asked several people that they should be part of it. They're like, I never thought of it. You know why? Because leadership has to come to you sometimes, not just us to them, you know. Being a business owner here, I already visited several businesses and they just want to participate, you know. And I don't know if they've never ever, if anybody ever asked them, but the answer is yes, they want to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Rodriguez. Our next question is actually about the Chamber of Commerce. So it is, why did Chamber of Commerce go away and how are those relationships addressed today? We'll start with candidate Krueger.
My understanding of the Chamber of Commerce, well, let's first say that when the Chamber of Commerce was active, their residency was right in Village Hall. The village certainly supported their presence there, and our economic development team had a seat at their table to help them with their networking, with their business impacts, and with certainly their big fundraiser every year, which was so great, the Taste of the Town. My understanding is that they did not have the base of participants and with the chamber, which they have to pay a fee to, you know, be a part of that membership. And without funding to support them, they really could not afford to pay for their staff, their director or their you know, assistants and their help. And I do think that COVID that affected everyone. I really think that for, you know, operations like this, it was difficult for them to keep their doors open. And I do hope that they revive themselves.
Thank you. Candidate Rafato, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. The impression that I'm getting is that there's an understanding that the Chamber of Commerce is part of the village of Wheeling. It is not. We rent them space, and we're active participants with them, and we help them when we can. The rent for them was nominal, so they could be in our village hall. But as Trustee Krueger mentioned, it is funded by the businesses of Wheeling and Prospect Heights. It's unfortunate that Ms. Rodriguez ran into some roadblocks, but we could work with her to do that, but that is not a village responsibility. And when the pandemic hit, all of the funds, which they're self-funded through their initiation fees, went away. People were reluctant to give out money unknown to what was going to happen. So the director had to quit because there were no funds coming in. When this pandemic is over, it will be revitalized without a doubt. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Waller, you have 1 minute.
There are a couple of interesting points. One is Chamber of Commerce crashed long before the pandemic. So the pandemic can't be blamed for the chamber going down the tubes. Yes, it's true that the village doesn't run or own the chamber, but a stronger support, which is what we're proposing, a support to help those folks get this thing up and running, reach out, be inclusive, get a larger number of businesses involved. And in that way, you're able to keep the cost down for each individual business. So the village just has not been proactive in reaching out to try and help the chamber. Its attitude apparently has been, let's just stand back and let things fall where they may, but we're not about to do that. We're ready to move forward with revamping that whole thing and getting it going again. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rodriguez.
Well, yeah, I'm really excited, and I really hope the Chamber of Commerce gets reopened. And I already have a group of people that want to form the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I have other Chamber of Commerce that are from other towns that want to come. You know, my sister is a president of the North Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. She has great ideas that I want to propose. So I'm really excited to do that. And I really hope, because our business needs that. And yes, we tried to do this before the pandemic. And when my proposal was rejected, you know, I was really down. And again, when I was invited to be part of as a trustee, my first thing said, what about the, even though it's not part of the village, it's one of the most important things because that's what's going to bring the business up. So I think, it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Papantos?
Thank you. As others have mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce is not under the control, nor should it be, of the Village of Wheeling. We do support it with an extremely low rent, $1 per year, plus their share of utilities, as well as some part of an advertising budget. And as Trustee Krueger mentioned, our economic development team is part of their board. We support their Taste of the Town, which is the big fundraiser every year, with a lot of our staff and work involved in that, as well as advertising. For the chamber to succeed, it takes businesses to come in and work with the chamber. For the village to run the chamber, I'm not sure that's fair to the rest of the taxpayers who may or may not be part of the chamber. People complain about their taxes. We want to make it sure it's fair to everybody and equitable. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will be the last, and we will then follow with 2-minute closing statements. So starting with candidate Rafato, here's the question. What experience do you have working in village government?
As mentioned in my opening statement, I was a Plan Commission member for 15 years, the last 5 as chairman. And during that time, my very first project when I was appointed to the Plan Commission was the Westin, which was a very large development, a very successful development, through now Wheeling Town Center and Uptown 500 and all of the other developments that have gone on in our village. And that gives me the experience that is needed for this job. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Waller?
Well, to be honest, I have absolutely no village management experience, and I think that's a good thing. I've run business, as I said in my introduction, I've run multiple businesses, had P&L responsibility in a number of different businesses, and that's what it takes in the village. I think that's a positive. I don't think that's a negative at all. I can bring business experience and legal experience to the village board and help it run like a business. And I think that's where it needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rodriguez?
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any experience working there, but I've been in business for over 20 years, and I've been handling over 2,000 customers just at this office. I manage, a lot of people here working with me, and I think I listen to the people. The village, is made by the people, so it's not just about me. It's listening to the concerns that they have, bringing it up to the village, the leaders. And I think that's why a team is so important, because if I'm weak in one part, the other one is strong. The other might, I speak Spanish. I don't know if anybody else speaks Spanish. So I feel like I would be a very good asset to the village. So I might not have experience on that, but I have experience in listening to the people. And I'm very flattered to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Papantos?
Thank you. As I said, I was appointed as trustee in 2016 and elected in 2017. Before that, somebody referred to me as a community activist. I don't know if it's quite that strong of a statement, but I listen to the residents, I listen to people, and I'm not afraid of public speaking. So I would go before the village board and bring up concerns and ask why. I would speak at plan commissions. I have been known to attend, before I was appointed, every village meeting. If I could not make it to the meeting, I watched it on TV. It is aired on a regular basis, on live actually, or you can watch it on your computer now. I think it's important to understand what the role of an elected official is. In a council management form of government, it is the city council that sets policy. It is up to staff to carry out that policy. You want to make sure that you know what your position is. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Krueger.
Thank you. As I said in my opening statement, I ran for public office for the very first time with zero experience in 2013 with local flooding on my mind. I knew that there were many other things that I was going to be responsible for when I won that election and had to serve. So I took it upon myself, and certainly the administration at that time believed in a liaison program where I was able to work with each of the different departments: police, fire, human services, all the departments, but for economic development. We reserved that for the village president. But I've worked with all of them. And I also served on the 911 Regional Emergency Dispatch Center. I've served for the entire 8 years that I have been a trustee for the village. And I was just recently named as their budget subcommittee chairperson. And I really think, like candidate Papanto says, it's about understanding how the operation of the village works, and know that it's staff that brings those ideas and our policy to fruition.
Thank you. That will conclude our questions. So we'll now be moving on to the 2-minute closing statements. Starting with candidate Waller, you have 2 minutes to close.
Thank you. If we're elected as a slate, the 5 of us that are running, 3 trustees and 1 president, here's what we intend to do. We intend to do what's in the best interest of the majority of Wheeling businesses, homeowners, and residents, and do it in a value justified way. Among the things we'll do is we'll rebuild the Chamber of Commerce. We'll establish a restaurant row task force to find out why we're losing so many restaurants, and it's just not COVID. We lost the Ram, we lost the Twin Peaks, we lost Golden Chef, all before the pandemic. So it goes much deeper. We would probably review the TIF districts to see what the TIF funding looks like and where it's being used, and if the TIF districts ought to be expanded, or that any of the TIFs need to be reset. We would probably like to, what I would like to do is prepare a Lake Cook corridor study, and that is find out what's going up and down Lake Cook. Sam's Club is gone. We've lost the TGI Fridays. We don't want to lose any more businesses along there, so we need to look at that. We need to set that as our goals. So those are among the items that need to be addressed, as well as balance the budget and get this ship righted. The budget is out of whack. Projected losses for 2021, yet funding revenues are also down for 2021. So this is a disaster in the making. This needs to be dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with in a business-like manner. Thank you very much for having us, and I hope this helps the voters and helps those folks watching understand where we're headed. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rodriguez, you now have 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm not here to replace anyone. I'm here to hear the people, to make a vote, encourage people to vote, and to choose their leader, okay? I believe in teamwork. I believe that everybody has an asset to the city. I want to be able to create business owners to come together as a task force, you know, to be ready of what can we do if another pandemic comes around, you know, because my business got hurt, like I know others. I want to be able to create funding, you know, federal funding, city funding, whatever it takes. But again, in reality, it's the town, it's the people that makes the city. So we have to start listening to the people that live here. They speak about high taxes, the flooding zone, and all that stuff. So I don't have the experience, but I listen, and I know that with leadership, we can create a better Wheeling with a lot of festivals, the fireworks and taste and touch of Wheeling and all that stuff. So I'm excited and I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. Again, I'm proud that, well, I heard that I'm the first Latina to run for this position, and it will be an honor to carry that and be able to serve my people. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Papantos, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this. Campaigning in the time of a pandemic is close to impossible. So hopefully those that are listening have heard their questions answered. I want to say how proud I am to serve the Village of Wheeling, and I think there's more to do. I do have an MBA, so I do have a business background, and I have been director in pharmaceutical and medical device companies. So I understand what's going on. I also have a very clear understanding of what it means to be a trustee and our form of government. Our form of government protects the village and the residents and businesses. The council management form of government provides a watchdog type situation so that you don't end up as a Dixon, Illinois or an Armstrong, Iowa. That's what happens with the strong mayor form of government. I'm also very excited to see the development coming into Wheeling. We've mentioned all the building on Lake Cook Road, as candidate Waller pointed out, we lost TGI Fridays. Record turnaround time, there is a dispensary coming there. It will be open by the end of this month. The tax revenue from that is phenomenal for any municipality that has a dispensary. I'm very proud that Wheeling could bring them in and help them open up as soon as possible. Our budget this is the first year, 2021, that we expect a deficit. We have had 6 straight years of surplus budgets, and those surpluses go into the pension fund. We pay as we go based on our SURF programs. We are about to buy a new fire truck. The last one was just short of $2 million. We pay cash. We don't take debt for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Krueger now has 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. As I said in my opening statement, I ran for public office in 2013 and have been there now for 2 terms. I've spent the better part of those 2 terms learning every aspect of the operation of the village, and I feel that I'm well versed in that understanding. I'm also very proud to have been a part of what I mentioned also in my opening statement about the flood mitigation work that we have done in this community that has afforded us a remapping of the FEMA flood map, and that is going to save insurance premium money for almost 750 residents in this village who've been removed out of that. Our candidate Waller mentioned that Restaurant Row is failing or dying, and I have to say that I'm uncomfortable with the hyperbolic opinion of those words to use to describe our Restaurant Row. During the pandemic, we have not lost any restaurant as a result of the pandemic on Restaurant Row. We have lost restaurants because of their corporate management decisions to close many of their operations, but that's not the village's fault. But the village's job is to put butts back in those seats, and we have done that very successfully, as candidate Papantos brought up. As far as taxes, I'd like to remind the public that the regular real estate tax bill that you pay to Cook County, only 14% of that comes to the village of Wheeling. 66% of that goes to the schools. Take a look at that and what that distribution is, and make sure that you're complaining to the right source when you complain about real estate taxes. Other than that, I have balanced the work of this office with my professional and personal lives now for 8 years, and I would like to continue that journey and hope that you all will vote for me and my colleagues to keep Wheeling rolling. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rafato, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My background within the Plan Commission and the 2 years the being on the village board speaks to itself. But also, I'm retired, but I had 40 years of experience in IT, managing budgets, managing people, which gives me a perspective that other people do have. Mr. Waller has that, but I have that also. But in regard to some of the comments that Mr. Waller talked about, the restaurants that we lost, the Ram restaurant had to declare bankruptcy, and they closed all of the restaurants within the state of Illinois. And the only restaurants they have right now are on the West Coast in Oregon and California, and I believe Idaho. As far as Twin Peaks, that was the second restaurant was there, and they were doing well, but they wanted to compress their portfolio, so they closed that restaurant. And then on your brochure, your flyer sent out, you had the Black Hawk being torn down. Well, that one, the family didn't want to run the business anymore. And we helped them tear that down to make it more marketable. And in addition, the Golden Chef that you talked about, there is a new restaurant going on there. We've got a strong base here, and I want to continue to keep Wheeling rolling. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the candidates and to everybody attending this candidate forum. I will now return to our MC.
Thank you to Greta for being our moderator. To our audience, please make sure to register to vote, make your plan to vote, and then make sure your voice is counted this election day. Do you need help? League of Women Voters Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, Buffalo Grove is here to help. Check out our website at www.lwvah.org for voter registration information. Yes, you can register online, mail-in vote information, planning your ballot, as well as your early and day of polling locations. Again, check us out at www.lwvah.org and follow us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find that information in the chat. We even have accounts specifically for youth at student.lwvah and a mascot at Pause for Votes. And make sure that once you're ready to vote, you tell 10 friends where they can find all the information they need to be counted. www.lwvah.org. We are grateful to you all for joining us and to our candidates, Krueger, Rafato, Lantos, Rodriguez, and Waller. Our democracy relies on citizens willing to run for office. And a big thank you to all of our volunteers from League who work tirelessly to bring you this free program. To our audience and our candidates, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.